Hello everyone, Melderon TV here with another vlog. Guys, it's been a while. I've been traveling all over this planet, I feel like, and it's been an adventure. Just got back from Germany, flew back home to Kansas for less than 24 hours, and flew to Philadelphia. So I've been pretty busy, pretty jet lagged, and I'm sorry if I seem very tired, but I am. But I really wanted to get some content out. You guys have been waiting for a while before we had some content. So I think it's time. So today's vlog's topic will be what's my favorite race in Classic WoW. And I'm going to give you my two favorite races for both factions, okay? So favorite race for Alliance, favorite race for Horde. And in order to do that, I've created a little scoring criteria that I will be using to score my my favorite races in each faction. So, and then we can compile those scores and we can kind of go and see which one's the highest score. That's my favorite faction. That's how it's going to work. So there's 4 criteria I will be using. And I wrote them down today while I was sitting in the conference board at one of the talks. So the 4 criteria we're going to use are lore. So lore is the lore of the game, either presented in Classic or further down the line with the Chronicle series and other the fan and books, official canon books that were put out. The second one is going to be character models and animation. So that's the actual character model of the race, and their animations for casting spells or attacking and stuff like that. The third one is aesthetics, and this is a kind of a broad category, but aesthetics kind of encompasses the feel of the starting zones and the architecture of major cities, villages, and other things. Whether that be, small things like signposts, or large-scale things like Orgrimmar itself, or zeppelins, or anything like that. That's aesthetics, okay? And the fourth and final category is RPPC, and that's an acronym that I just created off the top of my head. It stands for Role Playing and Personal Connection. So that is the ability to delve into the race to role play. Based on racial stuff, not class. And then personal connection would be, I would define that as how well you fit into that race. And that could be physical, or like your physical dimensions you feel are closer to what you look like in real life, or it could also be what that race goes through, their personality, their lore that goes part of it, but also the struggles they've gone through as a race. So that's the personal connection part. You'll notice I did not include racials, game racials, so I wanted to stay away from things like that, because to me, that doesn't matter to me when I pick a race, okay? These 4 categories do. That may be different for you, and that's totally fine. And if you want to talk about that in the comments, you're more than welcome to. Again, this is an opinion piece. I'm not saying one race is better than the other. I'm just saying this is my personal preferences, okay? So I think we should start with the Alliance, because I've had the least playtime with the Alliance. So if you're not sure, if you need a refresher, the 4 Alliance races are Human, Dwarf, Gnome, and Night Elf. So I like to start with the Night Elves, okay? So the Night Elves, I'm just going to go through each of these 4 categories and give you my score. So for lore, I gave Night Elves a 2. To me, the Night Elf lore is interesting, don't get me wrong. They're a very ancient race. You have all the Elden Storm Age, you have the Malfurion Storm Age stories, you have the Well of Eternity, you have the Great Sundering is because of the Night Elves. So there is a rich lore, but for me, it isn't the best. I think it's cool, don't get me wrong. I like reading about Night Elves when I read the books, but it's not my favorite lore story. So I gave those a 2. And I'm sorry, this scale goes from 1 through 5. So 1 being a low score, 5 being a high score. I don't want to define each number because it's different depending on which category we're talking about. So a 2 in lore does not mean a 2 in aesthetics, right? So they're very different things. So I like to give those the Night Elves a 2 for lore. Character models and animation, I also gave the Night Elves a 2. To me, this is my opinion, guys, the Night Elves look kind of weird to me. Their facial structure was always strange. Their hair color, their hair options, their stance, the way they kind of just move their shoulders when they stand up. I always thought that was kind of awkward. Their casting animations are not my favorite. You know, like they go like this. You know, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. That's Defcamp upstairs, by the way, if you can hear him screaming. I think he's singing to the dog, probably. So, yeah. So character models gave him a 2. Aesthetics, I gave him a 5. Because I think Darnassus, Teldrassil are beautiful. Like, absolutely beautiful. If you can, like, define, like, an enchanted forest or, like, what you would think about an enchanted forest, that's it. Also, their buildings, they kind of have this Asian, like, Shinto temple look to them. Awesome. So, I definitely give them a 5 there. I think the aesthetics are wonderful. The music, everything. So, I'm sorry, music is also an aesthetic side.
Hey, guys.
Forgot about that. That's Defcamp up there, if you can hear him.
Hey.
Say hi, Matt.
Hey,
Defcamp.
everybody. How you doing today?
Yeah, so we'll be making a Def Talk soon. But, yeah, that's him up there. I'm in Philly. I'm home, by the way, with my brother. So, anyway, let's move on to RPPC. This I also gave him a 2. It's very hard for me to feel connected to the Night Elves on a role-playing or personal connection level. I'm not a very tall, lanky guy, so the personal connection thing is very low for me. The RP part, I mean, don't get me wrong, there is some interesting things about being a Night Elf, and I think that there is some, you can have some, like, you know, honor and pride to be a Night Elf, but for me, I can't feel that way when I play a Night Elf. So anyway, that's just me for Night Elves, okay? We're going to move kind of quick here because there's a lot to go over here, so I don't want to make this too long of a vlog. So next I like to do the Gnomes. So the Gnomes I'm just going to put full front, these are my least favorite race. I actually gave them a 1 in all 4 categories. The lore for Gnomes, I mean, the Gnomerican story where Gnomerican was destroyed, and you know they're these refugees. It's a cool story, but it's been done to death, and I think that they don't really have this flavor or oomph that other races do when it comes to their lore. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, but that's just how I feel about it. Their character models and aesthetics, so their character models and animations, I can't see myself in this little, like, 3-foot thing. I just can't do it. They have these wacky hairstyles and wacky faces, and the females look weird. Females actually look way better than the males, actually. Females look way better than the males. But I can't. So I just want to full front. I didn't talk about this before. I only play male characters, and never actually played a female character. So a lot of my opinions are male-centric. So if you like the female models, you may have a totally different score based upon sex. So that's something I want to talk about too. But I try to take sex into account as well when I did this. But it's very hard for me to do that because I only play male characters. So just full front out, I want to talk about that for a second. Okay. So the character models and animations, I think their casting animations are okay. But their fighting animation when they do that, especially when they're like a gnome warrior, it's really cringe to me. But so I gave him a 1. Aesthetics, I also gave him a 1 because it's just a bunch of gears and cogs that rotate, and whatever. I mean, I realize they don't have a lot of their own aesthetics because they level up in the dwarven areas, so I think a lot of it's borrowed from the dwarves. But when you do see something that's them, like in the gnomish part of Ironforge, it's just a bunch of gears that are turning. Whatever. You know, it's not that great to me. And even Gnomerican, it just seems like an industrialized factory, and it's just not my thing. But I can see, you know, if that is your thing, that's your thing. So, and then RP and PC is also 1 because I'm not 3 foot tall. I don't see myself in that way. I can't roleplay that way. I like to roleplay as more powerful, physically demanding characters and races. So that would be a 1. Okay, let's move to Dwarf. So Dwarves have a great lore. I gave them a 3 for this. They have a lot of inter-tribal inter-clan lore that's really interesting between the Wildhammers, the Dark Iron, Wildhammer, Dark Iron, and anyway, sorry, I'm having a brain fart. So that to me is interesting. they're also a very ancient race, coming straight from the earth, and so almost direct progeny of the Titans. And that to me is very, very cool, and I think their lore really gets fleshed out in Wrath of the Lich King. This vlog isn't about that, but I always found that part to be very, very interesting, so I gave him a 3 there. The character models and animations, I gave it 2 as well, like the Night Elves. Again, they're not the best character models in vanilla. I think that there's definitely a niche for dwarves, and people love dwarves. But for me, I thought their character models were very rough. Even and especially the female dwarves, I think are not good looking at all. So to me, it's not appealing to me to pick them because of that. Their animations aren't bad. It's just that I lumped the character models and animations into a criteria themselves, so I gave them a 2 there. Aesthetics, I gave them a 4, mostly because of Ironforge. That place is spectacular. Can't deny that. Even their small settlements in Loch Modan and Dun Moreau that are kind of built into the mountains or built into a hill kind of reminds me of hobbits. And I love hobbits. So, and you think, we hate dwarves, we love hobbits? Yeah, I love the aesthetics of the hobbits. So to me, it reminds me of that. These mountaineering people live inside rocks, live inside large caverns. I think that's really, really cool. Their architecture is amazing. Ironforge is amazing. So I gave them a 4 there. RP and PC, I gave it 3. I think the reason I did not give this a lower score is because it's cool to be a dwarf, right? You can see yourself as like Gimli or one of these other dwarves from the Tolkien universe with a Scottish accent. It's a really horrible accent, by the way. But yeah, so you can definitely like feel the dwarf. I think you can definitely be. If the character models were better, I think it would be a perfect match. So and then the PC part of it, of the RP, so the player connection or personal connection. Again, they're not very short, but they're very stout and kind of broadly built. So I can kind of see that too for myself. So that's why I gave them a 3. So lastly, let's do humans. And humans, I gave a 4 for the lore. There's so much human lore, right? There's the Arthas storyline. There's the storyline about Stromgarde. There's the storyline about Stormwind. There's the storyline about Kol Tiras. There's so much there, right? And they come from the Vrykul, and they move into Tirisfal, and they populate the area, and they have so much lore with the old gods, and with, even the Defiance Brotherhood lore is awesome. So there's so much lore rich with the humans. I can go on and on about that, but we gave them a 4. I gave them a 4. Character models and animations, I think they're the best in the Alliance. I gave them a 3. Not because they're humans, just because they have really good character models. I like their stout nature. They're really jacked. And the females I think are attractive looking for a game. I also like to say Night Elf females are actually pretty nice too. But I think both male and female character models look great. Their animations are very satisfying. The casting animations are satisfying. I love the twirl that you do when you do a special attack as a warrior. You kind of do a spin move. I love that spin move. And I love the overhead slice of a two-hander. I really like humans a lot. Aesthetics, I gave them a 4. I mean, it's the classic castle aesthetic, right? Or classic medieval aesthetic. And if you love medieval stuff, medieval lore, humans are great, right? They have castles, they have these shacks and houses and inns and all these things that we've lived in the Tolkien universe and stuff like that. So it's great. It's a 4. And then finally, RPPC is a 5. They have to be a 5 to me. They're humans. So you should have a very clear connection to them. Not should, I do, because they're human. If you see, my character Melderon TV, I made him look just like me, pretty much. So your ability to do that and roleplay, I think, is always going to be high for humans, no matter who you are, because we're human, right? So I gave him a 5. I just didn't give him a 5. I gave him a 5 because that's how I feel, and I just give him that. But that's just how I feel. So let's look at the totals. Start with the lowest. Gnome had a total of 4. That's my lowest. Least favorite alliance race. Night Elves had a total of 11, so it's my second to last. Right, very close to him was a Dwarf with a 12, and Humans with a 16. So, 16 is greater than all those. My favorite alliance race is Human. So, let's move on to the Horde. Lotar Ogar, my favorite faction, as we've seen in other previous vlogs. Let's start with the Trolls. So, Darkspear Trolls, I give them a 4 for lore, because I don't just consider the Darkspear lore, which is interesting in itself. I consider all of troll lore, and the trolls are amazing lore-wise. All these different tribes that have different loas, they different gods, different personalities, different rituals. They just have this rich lore that goes back for thousands and thousands of years before the Great Sundering, fighting the Black Empire. All this awesome lore that I love. And the Darkspear trolls themselves being rescued from the Naga by Thrall, and all this just great lore that goes back into the history of Warcraft. So I give them a 4 for that. Character models and aesthetics, I gave them a 3. They're not my favorite. They're my least favorite character model for the Horde. They have this hunched over, lanky appearance, which I know some people love. I'm not a huge fan of it. I still like them better than... So, all the character models, I'm going to say this right now, all the character models to me are better than the Legion character models, except I think the Dwarves got a nice makeover, because they were really ugly. Anyway, that's just my personal opinion. But, so the Trolls, I gave them a 3. The character models are kind of The females are... They're not very... They look very much like Night Elf females to me, which makes sense, because they share an evolutionary common ancestor, Night Elves and Trolls. But I don't see a big differentiation. I think the female models in Classic WoW were very underwhelming. I think that almost like birds. So if you know anything about birds, male birds are very colorful, female birds are very drab. I feel like that's how the male character models are in vanilla and in Legion, or newer game. I think that the male models are much more robust, the female models are just kind of okay. That's my personal opinion. They could have done better. So, their casting animations are pretty cool. I do like some of their fighting animations, not really. I really don't like their stealth animation. Anyway, so I gave them a 3. So for aesthetics, I gave them a 4 because I love the African tribal type of African South American kind of tribal aesthetics. Love them. I love the music of the drums. I love the things they wear. I like the. I do not like the Jamaican accent. I think that's very. I just don't like it. I mean, why use a real accent? I mean, you can say the same thing about Dwarves. We use a Scottish accent for them too, but I don't know. I just never was a fan of the Jamaican accent. That's my personal opinion. But I love the drums. I love the architecture. I love the way the tarp of the skins on top of their like buildings, and the big long beams, I guess you can say. I like that a lot. So I gave him a 4 with that. RP and PC, I gave him a 3. I have a hard time role playing as a troll, mostly because of the accent. Secondly, because of their build. This lanky kind of crouched over feeling. And again, the females aren't great, so I gave him a 3 there. Let's move on to the Undead. So my first character was an Undead. I have a special place in my heart for them. I gave their lore a 5 because it's the Arthur storyline, man. It's the Scourge, man. It's a great lore. Probably the most famous lore story in Warcraft. Sorry, I'm a little sick. They're fighting it back against their oppressors. Man, just great lore. Character models and animations, I give it 4. The Undead character models are great. They're a little lanky, but like their animations are awesome. The stealth animation's awesome. Female models are actually really good. They have great character models. I gave them a 4. Aesthetics, I gave a 5 because it's like the antithesis of the human aesthetics. So it's like the medieval feeling, but like dark and deteriorating and falling apart. I love that. Love it. So that to me is definitely a 5. It has this quietness, this almost relaxing sounds and music, but eerie at the same time. Love the aesthetics of the Undead. RP and PC, I gave him a 4. I can easily roleplay as an Undead. Personal connection. The only reason I don't have a 5 on here is my personal connection is not perfect because, let's face it, they're an undead, scrawny, very scrawny, dead looking to them. I think that's cool. For me, it's not the ultimate personal connection, but that's just me. I gave him a 4. Tauren. Love the Tauren. I'm playing a Tauren Shaman right now on Knight's Hope, Oakenhorn. I do like the Tauren a lot, so I gave him a 3 for lore. The lore is interesting. It's not the best lore in the game, personally. I do like the storyline where they help Thrall during Warcraft 3. I do like all that. That's a great storyline. I think they're a very proud, very proud race. They have a lot of cool what they hold dear. They have a lot of, it's very interesting. So I gave him a 3. Character models and animations, I gave him a 5. I love the way the Tauren males look. And since I only play male, I didn't really consider the female models here. They're not horrible. They're really not. I think they get a lot of flack, but they're not that bad. But the males, they are huge, intimidating. I love them. I love them. And their casting animations are awesome. And their fighting animations are really awesome. You know, I love them. I love their character models. For aesthetics, I also gave them a 5. I'm a huge fan of Native American history. And the Native American feel you get when playing a Tauren is just so cool. The music, Thunderbluff music, Mulgore music are just so good. I love Thunderbluff. I know people hate Thunderbluff. I love Thunderbluff. I think it's great. It's open. It's an open air city, like Stormwind, but more open air. You're elevated on top of the thing. It's just really, really neat. So I gave him a 5 with aesthetics. And then RP and PC, I also gave him a 5. I'm not a small guy. I'm not a tall guy, but I'm not a small guy. So to me, this bulky, large animal looking is intimidating and awesome. I also feel like that calmness and love of nature and wisdom that I try to portray. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I try to portray that. So for me, definitely a 5. And lastly, but not least, the orcs. 5 on lore. Dark Portal. The corruption, the demonic corruption, the invasion of Azeroth, the redemption, the Thrall story. Excellent lore. Whenever I read the books, I always try to read orc stuff. I'm a huge orc fan. I'm pro-orc. So, I mean, we're just getting a little long in the tooth, so I'm trying to speed this up a little bit. Character models and animation, 5. I love the hulking shoulders, the huge shoulder pads. I love the faces, the angry faces. I love the huge hands. I love the way they stand. I love the way they look in heavy armor, especially an orc warrior. Love it. Casting animations are awesome, especially for shamans. I mean, to me, shamans have great casting animations. Warlocks, and I love how they look when they're holding a shield and they're hitting with a one-hander. I love orcs. Aesthetics, I give them a 4. I didn't give them a perfect 5. I think Orgrimmar looks awesome. I love the tusks and the bone and the way it looks. I love the orc buildings because it harkens back to Warcraft 3 and the older Warcrafts. They really transfer that very well. It's this raw, purposeful buildings. They don't really have to be pretty, but they have that purpose, and I think it's warlike, and I like that. RP and PC, I gave them a 5. I think my body type is closest to an orc. I'm not a huge jacked guy, but I used to lift weights a lot, but not anymore. So when I was lifting weights, that was like huge for me because I loved looking that way and trying to be muscular. And they're intimidating looking, and they're big, and they're scary, and I'm not saying I'm those things. I'm just saying that's my portrayal, and I like to portray that. And I can role play as an orc very well, as well, if I was role playing. So totals. Start the lowest was Troll at 14. Undead at an 18, Tauren at an 18, so Tauren and Undead are tied, and Orcs at a 19. So my favorite race for the Horde is Orc. And if you'll notice, almost all the Horde races are higher than all the Alliance races, except humans are above Troll. So I'll put the totals up for you to see that, and you'll see what my favorite races are. Human for the Alliance, Orc for the Horde. Alright, quickly, Melderon IRL. I'm in town, Philadelphia, for a scientific conference. It's called the 59th Annual Drosophila Research Conference, and I won't go into what's happening there. Basically, it's a bunch of people who study fruit flies, like myself, at an international conference. I'm putting a picture up right now. This is a picture of the This is a picture of the keynote address, which in a conference is the first talk that you listen to by someone who's very prestigious. And in this picture, there are about 1,000 people. And I'm bringing this up for a very specific reason. Guys, we're approaching 1,000 subs. And when I see that, when I was sitting in that room, I'm like, wait a second. This is essentially what's happening when we make videos. We have these people sitting in a room ready to listen to us. It was very sobering, guys. Very sobering. In a scientific field, you're lucky if you get that many people listening to your talk. You are at the top of your game. And since we have something close to that, and maybe one day go above that, it's really gone past my wildest dreams, guys. Thank you so much for making me realize how amazing it is to have you guys in my life. It's just really, really cool. It means so much to me. I get more of you guys listening to me talk about Warcraft than I do about my own research. It's cool. It's cool. Thank you. And for those bigger YouTubers that are out there that are watching this, think about that. Think about that. Some of you guys have over 20,000 subscribers. Anyway, the next really brief thing in Melderon IRL, my brother and I last night saw A Quiet Place, starring John Krasinski, I think his name is, from The Office. And it was awesome. It was very original. The premise of the story quickly is that these beings, we don't know what they are, have somehow invaded the Earth. They've wiped out a large amount of the population. And the secret to staying alive is to stay quiet. They can't hear you. They can't kill you. They're blind. They have extremely good senses of hearing. They can hear things from miles and miles and miles away, and they will charge you and kill you instantly. So the vast majorities in the movie are in complete silence, which is really cool and original to me. It does harken to I Am Legend a little bit, so if you like I Am Legend, you'll love this. So just give me a little advice of what to check out. So that's it. That's the end of the vlog. So I'm here for another week. No, I'm here. Today's Friday, so starting tomorrow, I'm here for another week. So I'm here for another week and a day. We're planning on putting out this video, Sewer Plate Brothers, a Def Talk, maybe another Def Talk. So we're gonna be putting out content as much as we can right now. And Defcamp's also working on another video. It's a top 5. I'm not licensed to tell you what that top 5 is yet, but stay on the lookout for that. Guys, it's been great. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the new subs. Stay tuned, and stay tuned for the next vlog where I talk about something pretty special, pretty important, and I think will be something that's really important when Classic WoW does launch, Vanilla WoW does launch again. So, see you guys. Stay tuned. Have a great one, and I'll see you on the flip side.